I think raising accountability stake is very important, because what we've seen with regard to gender-based violence or violence against women and girls is an issue of impunity. So when we talk about Unite campaign, it's just unite to end the impunity of gender-based violence, to end violence against women, and to hold perpetrators to account. And within that, the government also have accountability, because the state responsibility ultimately reside in government. And when we talk about government in this sense, it means both executive, legislative, and the judiciary. All of them have a role to play. Of course, the executive may, just like we have laws, the extant laws have to be implemented effectively. And for you, if the legislature have enacted a law, to implement it, you need the necessary budget, you need the necessary political will as well. And then the judiciary have to also perform theirs, because the problem is that victims never get justice. They hardly get justice for 1 in everything. In fact, if there are 10 cases of rape, only maybe 3 will get reported. There may never be a conviction. And if they come today, come tomorrow, and then they are actually put out before the public as if to doubly victimized, exposed from the time of reporting to police to coming every day. I mean, I have one case that even the victim became so traumatized because she was being asked to come to police station almost every day. The parents had to travel, from Lagos all the way to the east, where the problem, where she was raped by even a driver that was just convening her she was coming back to school from Lagos. And then he got handed over with all this transfer they do at Onitsha. And then they got somewhere before nightfall, because she was still a very young girl who wasn't familiar with the terrain. They raped the driver, diverted, took her, and raped her all through the night. And when this pathetic case came, unfortunately enough, the perpetrator was captured. But before you know it, the case quickly again turned against bring money today, bring money, because there is also commercialization of police services. And all of that are diminishing the accountability that we're talking about and promoting effective implementation of extant law. Where do you start asking victims to bring money for tests, bring money for even arrest of the perpetrator in a case that is a state responsibility to provide for this? I think we need to really track and trace even budgets from the police, for example, to make sure that there is a budget mapped out towards dealing with gender-based violence or violence against women. Because it's happening not just on gender-based violence. We all are aware now that the police services are heavily commercialized, even at state level. And this is really, you may see the headquarters working, but definitely they can't affect us. They will tell you about fuel, they will tell you about vehicle. You have to, pay the doctor, whether it's a police doctor. You have to also pay for even pathological tests that will enable you to get the necessary forensic for proving rape. Where does it happen in the world? So we don't take this thing seriously. I believe the government should act urgently to redress this situation. It should be zero tolerance in terms not just on gender-based violence, zero tolerance on corruption, because corruption undermines accountability for holding perpetrators to account in cases of gender-based violence.
All right, thanks.
I think enough is enough with regard to this attitude, our attitude, because you can't tell a woman who is battered by the husband, who turn to police station for help, next you tell her, madam, you have to leave the house. Some even men go to police station, misuse the police to eject their wife from their matrimonial home and children, abandon them. I have a case with a baby, and then they turned up to the police station and he said, we advise you to leave. Just go and find somewhere you can sleep. Is it not the man that's supposed to leave? Don't the man have responsibility for maintenance of those children? So it's really a situation that we must address, because elsewhere in the world, I was a UN Special Rapporteur on human trafficking every part of the world. And you see, when you talk about institutional mechanism for responding to cases of violence, and I've overheard my sister Moji talking about the issue of Lagos. That is because they have put money to an agency that is responding, rapid response to victims of violence. Every government must budget for this.
In other words,
they must have shelter, for example. If you don't have, you pay service providers. Service providers, because in fact I don't even encourage government to set up shelters, but you know there are NGOs that have it. Pay those people to provide those services because they can run it better and more effectively. There is legal aid program. Expand it to include also access to justice for women. There is so much unmet justice needs.
In other words, there are institutional issues in all of this.
It is
okay.
huge.